Why should Christians look at the Mahabharata? Across the ancient world, civilizations told stories that were far more than entertainment. They encoded spiritual struggles, moral warnings, and eternal questions about good and evil, truth and deception, obedience and rebellion. For Christians, this raises a powerful question. What if some ancient non-biblical epics are shadows, distorted echoes of the same spiritual realities revealed clearly in Scripture? You think you know the story of the Mahabharata, a great war, powerful warriors, and a colossal struggle for a kingdom. For millennia, this is the story that has been told. But what if that's not the real story? What if that epic tale was just the cover? What if I told you that hidden within its verses is a secret, a code that transforms this ancient text into a personal guide for mastering your own inner world? What if the battlefield of Kurukshetra isn't just a place in ancient India, but a landscape that exists inside your own mind? And what if the characters aren't just kings and queens, but the very forces that shape your thoughts, your actions, and your destiny every single day? The Mahabharata, one of the longest and most complex epics in human history, is often read as a mythological war story. But beneath its surface lies something far deeper, more unsettling, and shockingly familiar to biblical readers. This video is not made to elevate the Mahabharata above the Bible. Scripture alone remains the ultimate authority. Rather, this is a Christian expose, an educative, mysterious, and faith-filled investigation, showing how the Mahabharata reflects universal spiritual truths that the Bible reveals with divine clarity. Hidden within its vast narrative is what many scholars, mystics, and theologians quietly acknowledge. The Mahabharata is not primarily about an external war. It is about an inner war, and that is where the greatest secret begins. For centuries, a profound secret has been hidden in plain sight within this epic. This isn't just a story to be read. It's a map to your inner self. And today, we're going to unfold it. To begin, we have to adjust our perspective. The Mahabharata is known as Itihasa, a Sanskrit word often translated as history, but its meaning is deeper. Thus, it was. This implies a story of events that truly happened. And indeed, the physical battlefield of Kurukshetra is a real place in Haryana, India. In the Bhagavad Gita itself, it is called Dharmakshetra Kurukshetra, the field of righteousness. This historical and geographical reality is the foundation of the epic. But the genius of the sage Vyasa, the author, is that he created a story that works on multiple levels at once. It's a historical narrative, a grand mythological saga, and, most powerfully for us today, a profound spiritual allegory. The story of the war is the external layer. The secret is the internal one. The epic isn't just about a war that happened, it's about a war that's happening right now, inside every one of us. Think of it like this. The grand, sweeping narrative is a language of symbols, helping us understand the complex, invisible world of our own consciousness. These ancient texts, or Puranas, weren't written just for us to admire the characters. They were designed to be a mirror, a tool for self-reflection. They give us a vocabulary to describe the forces at play within our own psyche. The blind king, Dhritarashtra, isn't just a historical figure. He represents the blind mind, ignorant of its own flaws. His wife, Gandhari, who blindfolds herself, symbolizes our willful ignorance, the times we choose not to see the truth. This is the code, hidden in plain sight. Every character, every event, every victory, and every defeat is a clue. It's a detailed schematic of your own mind. The battle for the kingdom of Hastinapura is the battle for control over your own inner state. And the key to unlocking this system begins with the most important players on the field, the 5 Pandava brothers. One of the most fascinating symbolic systems within the Mahabharata comes from certain esoteric traditions. It's a poetic lens that maps the 5 Pandava brothers onto the 5 fingers of the human hand. In this reading, even the name of the kingdom, Hastinapura, takes on a new meaning. While its common etymology links it to hasten or elephants, this symbolic view suggests a link to Hasta, the hand, and Pura, the city. It becomes the city of the hand, a metaphor for our own being, a domain governed by the powers in our palms. The hand in this view is a microcosm of our consciousness. The fingers represent 5 core energies we use to navigate the world. Let's break down this code, finger by finger. It begins with the thumb, the strongest of the fingers. The thumb represents Bhima. Bhima is the mightiest Pandava, known for his physical power. Symbolically, he is the life force, or prana. He's often associated with raw energy and aggression. But it isn't just brute force. Bhima's power is the vital energy of justice, needed to shatter ignorance. He is the raw power within us that, when channeled correctly, can overcome any obstacle. Next, the tallest finger, the middle finger. This represents the eldest brother, Yudhishthira. He is the embodiment of dharma, truth, righteousness, and morality. This finger is sometimes linked by esoteric traditions to Saturn, the planet of karma and structure. Yudhishthira symbolizes the ordering principle of the cosmos. He is our inner compass, our commitment to doing what's right. However, his story is also a warning, showing how rigid adherence to the law without wisdom can lead to disaster, as we see in the fateful dice game. The index finger, the one we use to point and direct, represents Arjuna. Arjuna is the perfect warrior, the embodiment of focused action and skill. He stands for our ambition and our destiny. Yet his crisis on the battlefield, where his attachments clash with his duty, is a universal symbol for the moral dilemmas we all face. His journey is about learning to transform personal will into divine will. Then we have the ring finger, which corresponds to the wise and discriminating Sahadeva. This finger is associated with the sun, the source of light and brilliance. Sahadeva is renowned for his wisdom and intellect. He represents the faculty of discrimination within us, the part of our mind that can analyze, understand, and see the truth. His flaw, however, was pride in his own wisdom. Finally, the little finger represents Nakula. This finger is often linked to beauty, charm, and sensuality. Nakula was famed for being the most handsome man in the kingdom. He represents our aesthetic sense and our capacity for connection. But this finger also symbolizes the test of our sensual desires. These 5 brothers, these 5 fingers, are the tools we're given. They are our power, our morality, our action, our wisdom, and our senses. They are the good guys in our inner world, but they aren't alone. Facing them are their 100 cousins, the Kauravas, and this is where the war truly begins. Now that we understand the players, let's turn to the battlefield. Kurukshetra isn't just a stage. It's the central metaphor of the entire epic, the eternal battlefield of human consciousness. The war between the Pandavas and Kauravas is an allegory for the constant internal struggle between our higher self and our lower tendencies. In one powerful interpretation, the 5 Pandavas also symbolize our 5 senses: sight, sound, smell, taste, and touch. These senses are our windows to the world, fundamentally divine instruments. But who are they fighting? The 100 Kaurava brothers. If the Pandavas are our 5 senses, the Kauravas represent the 100 negative tendencies of the mind. Duryodhana, their leader, embodies jealousy and ego. Dushasana represents cruelty. Others stand for greed, anger, arrogance, and delusion. The symbolism is profound. Our negative mental patterns often feel like they far outnumber our senses. They are a vast army of darkness. This brings us to one of the most misunderstood events, the game of dice. We can read this as an allegory for what happens when our senses indulge the mind's negative impulses, when we gamble with gossip, anger, or greed. Yudhishthira, our moral sense, thinks he can play with these tendencies and win. What happens? The Pandavas lose everything: their kingdom, their freedom, and finally, their shared wife, Draupadi. In this reading, Draupadi can be seen as the human body, or our spiritual life force. The senses, by gambling with the mind's vices, lose control of the very body they inhabit, leading to spiritual exile. The disrobing of Draupadi symbolizes the violation of our inner dignity that happens when we let negative tendencies run rampant. Her rescue by Krishna represents the divine grace that saves us, but only when we completely surrender. This single event explains the core dynamic of our inner world. The senses alone are no match for the mind's 100 tendencies. They will always lose the gamble. This is why the war is necessary. The battlefield of Kurukshetra is the soul's crucible, where we must consciously choose to fight for our inner kingdom. Arjuna's despair at the start of the war suddenly becomes completely relatable. His hesitation to fight his own kin symbolizes our conflict when trying to overcome negative habits. These tendencies, our anger, our pride, feel like a part of us. They're family. To fight them feels like self-betrayal. Arjuna, standing between the two armies, is every one of us, caught on the battlefield of life, facing moral dilemmas and spiritual uncertainty. This is the great battle. Not for a piece of land, but for the state of your own consciousness. Beyond the central conflict, the Mahabharata gives us an entire cast of characters that symbolize other parts of our inner landscape. Consider Bhishma, the granduncle, bound by a vow to protect the throne, no matter who sits on it. He knows the Kauravas are wrong, yet he fights for them. Bhishma represents our deep-seated conditioning and inertia, our old vows and habits. Even when our higher self knows a pattern is destructive, the sheer force of that ingrained habit compels us to defend it. Bhishma can only be defeated when he himself reveals the secret to his downfall, just as we must consciously choose to let go of old conditioning. Then there is Drona, the teacher of both sides. He represents our established habits, both good and bad. Drona loves the Pandavas, but because he is employed by the state, by the blind mind of Dhritarashtra, he is forced to fight for the Kauravas. This is a brilliant psychological insight. The power of habit in a battle between our higher and lower tendencies will often side with the lower ones because they are more deeply entrenched. And of course, there is Karna, the tragic hero, born of the sun god but abandoned at birth. In some symbolic interpretations, he represents our ego. Like the ego, Karna is armored and seemingly invincible. He has immense talent and power. He is noble and generous. This symbolizes how our ego isn't purely evil. It has its own strength. But Karna's fatal flaw is his desperate need for validation and his loyalty to Duryodhana, to our own core negativity, because it was the first to give him recognition. To defeat the ego, divine intervention is required. The armor must be stripped away by grace. The Pandavas' 12 years of exile aren't just a punishment. They represent periods of introspection and purification. These are the times in our own lives when we retreat, face our failures, and build inner strength before we can hope to reclaim our kingdom. The Pandavas' last journey up the Himalayas is a powerful allegory for the soul's path to liberation. One by one they fall, each brought down by a remaining flaw. Draupadi by her partiality, Sahadeva by pride in his wisdom, Nakula by pride in his beauty, Arjuna by pride in his skill, and Bhima by his gluttony. Only Yudhishthira, the embodiment of dharma, reaches heaven's gates because he has shed all attachments, except for a stray dog that followed him. This dog turns out to be the god Dharma himself in disguise. This final test shows that true righteousness is inseparable from compassion for all beings. Every detail is a lesson, every character is a mirror. But this entire inward journey leads to one ultimate transformative secret. So, what is it? What is the greatest secret hidden in the Mahabharata? After decoding the characters and allegories, we arrive at the core teaching delivered by Krishna to Arjuna in the heart of the conflict. It's a message so simple, yet so profound, it turns the entire concept of struggle on its head. The secret isn't just a strategy for fighting harder or a new moral code. The ultimate secret, the key that unlocks victory on the inner battlefield, is found in the culmination of Krishna's teachings, a synthesis of right action, dharma, knowledge, jnana, and devotion, bhakti. It all builds to the profound realization captured in Krishna's message to Arjuna. You are only an instrument of a higher will. This is the key. The entire epic boils down to this single point: surrender. The battle isn't won by the ego's strength or by Arjuna's skill. The war against our 100 inner vices cannot be won by our 5 senses alone. It's an unwinnable fight. Victory comes when we cease to identify with ourselves as the warrior and instead become the chariot, allowing the divine charioteer, Krishna, our own highest self, our Atman, to take the reins. It's about letting go of the belief that I am fighting this battle. When Arjuna is paralyzed by despair, it's because he thinks he has to kill his kinsman. Krishna's entire teaching in the Bhagavad Gita is a process of dismantling this egocentric view. He explains that Arjuna is simply to be the instrument of a divine reality already in motion. When we surrender our ego and see ourselves as channels for a higher purpose, grace flows through us. The fight is no longer a desperate struggle, but a divine dance. This is the transformation. The Mahabharata isn't just a story about how to win a war. It's a guide to shifting your identity from the struggling warrior to the willing instrument of the divine. This is the secret that turns an ancient epic into a living scripture, a roadmap for your own life. The battle of Kurukshetra rages within you every day. Every time you choose patience over anger, you're siding with Yudhishthira. Every time you fight procrastination, you're channeling Arjuna. Every time you give in to a negative thought, you're feeding the Kaurava army. So, the question isn't whether you're on the battlefield. You are. The question is, who's driving your chariot? If this perspective on the Mahabharata has opened a new door for you, subscribe and click the bell icon. We'll be diving deeper into the hidden wisdom of ancient texts. And I want to hear from you in the comments. Which inner Kaurava, which negative tendency, do you find yourself battling most often? Remember, the Mahabharata isn't just a story you read, it's a story you live. The characters aren't in some distant past, they are inside you now. It is a timeless, personal guide to navigating the war within your own heart and mind, and discovering the ultimate peace that comes not from victory, but from surrender.